Guys, when I was little, I had really excellent eyesight. To this day, I don't have to wear glasses, which is a blessing, but I probably should wear reading glasses, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I always had decent eyesight, but I had friends that slowly but surely, as they got older, had to wear eyeglasses. As I progressed into my into my 20s and into my 30s, all of a sudden people started getting this Lasik eye surgery. And I even told myself if I ever had to get eyeglasses, I would at least consider Lasik eye surgery, right? Especially if the prices go down, because I remember at first, prices were sky high. Guys, I want you to take a look at this young man. He's 26-year-old Ryan Kongursky. He took time off from the Pent Hills Police Department. By the way, this story that I'm going to be sharing today is from a YouTube channel called CBS Pittsburgh. But Ryan took time off from the Pent Hills Police Department for what he thought was going to be routine eye surgery, Lasik eye surgery. His parents, Tim and Stephanie, shared a story that was rather gruesome, and they wanted it to be a warning for people that are contemplating getting Lasik eye surgery. And this video was really something else, so I'll be sharing it with you guys just in case you guys want to check it out. So even though he was planning on doing Lasik eye surgery, and one of the benefits that they tout when you get this eye surgery is that it's pretty routine, you'll feel back to normal in a couple of days, and you'll be back to work in less than a week. Unfortunately, Ryan never ended up going back to work, to the job he loved in the police force, and he actually ended up taking his own life. That's right, YouTube fam, he ended up unaliving himself. Again, keep in mind, he was only 26. Now, Ryan, apparently, according to his twin brother, his girlfriend, and his parents, was the type that lit up a room. And before this surgery, he was not depressed or suffering from mental illness in any way, shape, or form. His job was not bumming him out. As a matter of fact, he felt like his life was relatively perfect, and his twin brother even attested to that. And you got to figure, if anybody knows you, it's your twin brother, right? So he joined the force, and his parents feared that something would happen to him, that was job related. Nobody wants their boy out there busting crime's ass and taking a cap in the ass, right? But anyway, they feared that he would get hurt on the job. They never feared that he would actually get hurt from Lasik eye surgery. And that makes three of us, me and his two parents, because I would have never thought in a million years that surgery was very dangerous. I knew that there was a chance that your eyesight could actually get worse, right? Everyone talks about the worst case scenario, but you never really figure that if you already have bad eyesight that it would matter much. But I guess a lot of people just go there because they have slight blurriness, and if you end up being one of these 1%ers or 1 out of 1,000 people where they end up burning the heck out of your eye, my God, that is unfortunate. Ryan suffered from horrible side effects, which included horrible headaches, double vision, floaters, and dark spots. So imagine you go in, you've got a little eye blurriness, you're thinking that you're going to be a success story like everybody else that you hear, and then you slowly start to realize that you're not the only one going through this. As a matter of fact, this is kind of what we found out with these weight loss medications. Everybody loses weight, it's the best medication ever, and then you find out, oh, there's a segment of the population that's on it that can't keep teeth in their mouth. Their teeth keep dissolving and melting away, right? Then you start to realize some of them end up getting a paralyzed stomach and they're never able to be normal again. And here's the thing, because these side effects don't really sell medications very well, you don't really hear about them. And apparently after Ryan started talking about his side effects and stuff, the doctors got to the point where they didn't even want to talk to Ryan anymore, which I thought was horrible on top of everything. Last January, Ryan actually unalived himself. He left his parents a note. Now imagine, this is your little boy. He's 26, so just, not too long ago, you probably remember when he was a 5 and 10-year-old kid, right? And his last note to his parents is, "I can't take this anymore. Lasik took everything from me." Like, how crazy is this story? I would have never thought in a million years that people are blaming Lasik for ruining their lives. But if all of a sudden you can't see anything, God, I would probably blame Lasik too. How about you guys? Because sometimes we get friendly with our doctors. We start to see them like a member of the family when we really like them. And sometimes they'll give advice willy-nilly like it's no big deal. But I think even doctors need to remember that there are side effects. People deserve to know about the side effects. Apparently, the day Ryan went in for his surgery, they had him sign off on his release forms, and apparently that's when he learned about some of the side effects. So imagine you're pumped and excited about getting this surgery, and all of a sudden, before you're ready to go into surgery, you're signing off on a paper where they finally share all those side effects with you. Now Ryan's parents, specifically his dad, says that he believed if they would have shared those side effects, that Ryan wouldn't have went through with the surgery. Here's where I disagree with his dad. Guys, almost every medication and every surgical procedure we go through has some sort of risk, and everyone, including Ryan, knows it. I have a feeling, even if they would have told Ryan about those risks earlier in the month or earlier in the year, right? I have a feeling Ryan would have kept going forward with it anyway. What say you? Do you guys agree with me that more than likely Ryan was fated for this to happen, unfortunately? Now here's some good news. According to statistics, 500,000 people in the US go through LASIK eye surgery every single year, and apparently less than 1% end up having issues. Now, because 500,000 is so many people, and over a 10-year period, that equates to 5 million people, even if the side effects are limited to 1% or less, you're still going to be able to find tens of thousands of people that had a horrible experience. That's why side effects and numbers are so interesting. If you see your close friend go through something, some horrible side effect, you don't want nothing to do with that medicine. But if someone tells you that it only negatively affects one person out of a million, all of a sudden you're okay with that. Isn't that weird how we're like that? And I'm no different. If you tell me the side effects are 10%, I don't want anything to do with it. But if you tell me the side effects are 1 in 1,000, I'll probably risk it, as crazy as that sounds. And I'd be willing to bet that you're probably in the same boat with me. Okay, let's get a little philosophical about this. If somebody takes your eyesight out of the blue, so keep in mind, Ryan was going into this surgery thinking he was going to go from seeing blurry to seeing 20/20 again, right? Maybe even better. And all of a sudden, he's not able to see ever again. He's not able to return to work ever again. And I guess he could see, but he had really bad headaches and double vision and spottiness, to the point where it was ruining his life, to the point where he ultimately took his life. So imagine where all of a sudden your happy life is miserable. Do you think you would have done the same thing? I think I would have tried to make the most out of the misery, but you never know until you have to go through something like that. That's unfortunate. I think if he would have been our age group, right, in his 40s or 50s, I think he probably would have found a way to cope. But when you're in your early 20s, you never know. You know how Cat Williams and other people through the years have said that things are going to start coming out to the light. I think because everybody has access to the internet and everybody can bust out a camera and hit record, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of adverse side effects from a lot of these medications. I would imagine the first one that we're going to see is probably all of these weight loss injectables. Now that more and more people are getting access to them, and I'm sure you guys have even heard that they've been lowering the prices. So instead of thousands of dollars a month, I think they're, a couple $100 a month. They're still expensive, but they're more doable. But when more people have access to things, you're going to start seeing more and more people use it incorrectly. You're going to start seeing more and more people get side effects. And ultimately, you're going to start to see more and more videos that make it seem like it's the most horrible thing ever, even though statistically, it might be the opposite. My Google YouTube says I'm going to stick to glasses and contacts. Ugh. Here's the cool thing. In the 80s, in the 90s, there was this show called Beverly Hills 90210. One of the cuter girls on that show that I kind of had a crush on was Gabrielle Carteris. I think that was her name. I'll have to double check it. Hi guys, how are you? But anyway, she had glasses. Do you guys remember that? And her glasses were one of those things that made her look a little bit older than the other kids on that show. And I don't know, she was probably the first girl that I saw in glasses where I thought, she looks better in glasses than without them. Do any of you guys agree? Do you guys remember Gabriella Carteris? Really beautiful woman. And so my Google YouTube, which by the way, weird name, right? That it was even available. Sounds like a bot, right? Anyway, my Google YouTube, maybe there is something to be said about that. Get yourself a pair of glasses, try them on. Maybe women will find you more attractive if you're a girl. Maybe guys will find you more beautiful. And it might be a blessing in disguise, and it might spark up your wardrobe. You know how sometimes you have some clothing and you're like, what is this outfit that I'm wearing missing? All of a sudden you put on your glasses, it makes you look smarter and more debonair, and before you know it, you're dominating the night scene like a king or queen. At Local Traffic says, years ago I went for a consultation and my doctor said that my corneas were thin, but it would probably be okay. And I never went back. That's one of those things where the way he said it, if that doctor wouldn't have said it that way, that guy's inner gut feeling would not have been triggered. But that guy listened to his gut. Now, more than likely, he would have went into that surgery and he probably would have been totally fine. But at the same time, what if his gut was right? What if his corneas were too thin? What if the doctor was low-key trying to be honest with him? And maybe he ended up saving himself some bad news. He probably should have just went through with the surgery, but either way. At Root Doc 1997 says, I'm a doctor, and no matter how successful LASIK is reported to be, I would never risk anything like that. Eyesight is way too precious. Now here's the crazy thing. If your next door neighbor was a doctor and you knew and respected your neighbor for many, many years, that alone might keep you from getting the surgery. But what if this guy is like a natural doctor or a homeopathic doctor or one of those, weird gurus that's not really a doctor? Would you necessarily listen to this? Or because it's a doctor, would that scare the crap out of you? Because isn't Joe Biden's wife, Jill, a doctor? I mean, you can be a doctor that's not necessarily a doctor of medicine or a doctor of, can you be a doctor of surgical procedures? Either way, if a doctor told me, don't get that surgery, I would at least think twice, wouldn't you guys? At Common Sense 76 says, people don't understand how horrible and debilitating having chronic pain physically and mentally is. So let's assume that this guy's life went from really good to really miserable. Have you ever had the flu? And when you're 2 or 3 days into the flu and you're not getting better, all of a sudden you're like, I just want to end it, right? You're like, this is miserable. Well, there are some people that have chronic illness, right? They might be suffering from life-ending type illnesses where they're sick like that 24/7. All of a sudden, this young guy probably didn't feel so young anymore. He probably felt old and miserable, and he wanted to unplug. It's really sad, but at the same time, people do it in this country and around the world all the time. I myself, I don't think I would want to feel pain all the time, but I believe in the thought that we should suffer well, because your family wants you around. Try to suffer through what you can. But that's because I'm not in any pain or any suffering right now, right? But even when I'm moving my shoulder and it hurts, I'm like, oh my God, this is miserable. That is nothing compared to what some of our brothers and sisters have to go through. So if you have a friend or family member that has to go through a lot of misery and pain each and every day, man, make today that day that you call them and let them know that you're thinking about them. We all have family members and friends that are going through pain like that. At Hurricane Patrick says, Jessica Starr, a meteorologist for Detroit, took her own life after she had LASIK surgery. Clearly there's a problem here that needs to be addressed. See, that's the thing that's crazy. If you have 500,000 people a year doing LASIK surgery, you're gonna end up being able to find mathematically some people that do this, right? Where they unalive themselves. Now, LASIK had something to say about this. LASIK said that normally when it comes to a person unaliving themselves, you can't really deduce that to one particular moment in life. In other words, people that take their own life usually have a lot of straws that lead to the straw that breaks the camel's back. But you can't necessarily blame it on that final straw. Does that make sense? So I see where LASIK's coming from, and I'd also be willing to bet that there's some people that would say, hey, LASIK changed my life for the better. So again, we always got to remember there's two sides to this coin. And again, I have a feeling that this guy would have gotten the surgery no matter what the side effects were. At Stephanie Duran, 3364 says, my eye doctor said, do not get it done. I can get it done for free and I still won't do it. This procedure needs to be stopped. So earlier I was poking fun that maybe somebody's just a natural doctor or a homeopathic doctor, right? And you don't necessarily listen to them if you don't want to. But in this case, if your eye doctor tells you not to get it, that's a really good reason not to get it. So here's my question to you, Venters. It's not your pharmacist, it's your actual eye doctor. He or she tells you don't do it. Are you gonna listen to them and not do it, or are you going to get a second opinion from another doctor? Rebecca Potter said, I had a horrible LASIK experience. There is so much they hide from you. I have ongoing problems still to this day, and it's been 15 years. Now, here's what scares me. I believe that with every medication you take and every procedure, there's probably 30 or 40 potential side effects that can occur. Too many times, doctors and surgeons kind of don't necessarily harp on that, if you know what I mean. Maybe they do need to try to talk you out of some procedures by letting you know the truth, right? If you tell everybody the absolute truth, the absolute worst case scenario, and they still want to get the surgery, then at least you can say, hey, I did my job as a doctor or as a surgeon or as an expert, and I told them the truth. Even if something is a 1 in a million, let them know. I have a feeling doctors don't let them know because if it's a 1 in a million, they don't want you stressing about that. So again, there's two sides to every coin, isn't there? Here's a side of the coin that you need to be on. The same one I am when it comes to taking a daily walk. Walk daily, drink water daily, and avoid sugar daily. I'm close to like day 70 now without sugar, and pretty soon you'll be in better health. Start with me today, continue with me tomorrow. I'll see you then. Have a good night.